So on last class, we end the class with creating a chart. You can see that whenever we would like to create a chart, okay, let me have a short recap for you once again before we talk about the next topic. Our last class, when we said that we would like to create some charts, for example, if you would like to create the chart for sales reports, the things that we had to do is that the first one, you highlight the area that you would like to make those data to create a chart first. For example, if you would like to create a chart to display the sales amount in different months, we can also choose the heading as well, and then we highlight all the data. After that, we go to insert, and then we choose in the charts. We just choose the type of chart that you would like to display. You can also use the recommended charts as well, so that Excel will just try to find out the most suitable chart for us. But anyway, you can change the type of the chart later on if you don't like the one that you choose before. For example, assume that I choose a chart that Excel recommend me that is a line chart like this, and then I click OK. So the first version of chart will automatically create it in the same page, in the same worksheet as the data. But you can change it later on if you like. Okay. Okay, let me just show the chart first. You can see that this is what Excel show us. This is what Excel show us for the chart that we choose from the recommended chart type. You can also just change the chart type or move the chart to another sheet if you like, because I mean, if you don't choose anything, and if you just let Excel to create a chart by its default, once you click on any other cells in the worksheet and then you try to print the chart, it will print out the chart including the data. But if you would like to print just the chart, if you would like to print just the chart only, the things that we do is that we just click on the chart first, and then you just click File and Print. Then it just pick up just only the chart area without the data, without the data in the worksheet. But if you say that no, actually I want to have my chart to be moved to another worksheet, and I don't want the data to follow my chart, what should I do? Then you just click on the chart first, and then you can see that there is a menu called Design. In the Design menu, you just you will see the location in the rightmost part of the ribbon. Then you can choose Click Move Chart, and then you can just choose different options. The first one, if you click New Sheet, your chart will move to our new worksheet called Chart 1 straight away, like this one. This one comes without having the data to follow. So that means if you would like to separate the chart into another separated sheet, this is the way that we do. But if you would like to just move the chart, if you just if you would like to move the chart to another worksheet, you can also do it as well. So in this one, we go to click on the chart first, choose Design and Move Chart. In this one, you can just if you would like to move a chart, move this chart to Sales Report 2000. You can see that the whole chart is moved to another sheet called Sales Report. It's here. I don't recommend you to right click and cut and then go to another sheet and then paste. It is not the good way to do. You better just click on the chart, choose Design, and then Move Chart to be an object in another sheet instead. This is the correct way to do. And we can also just change all the components in the chart as well. For example, you say that, oh, it should be called as like the revenue. It should be the revenue in 2021. You can double click on any components that you think that it's wrong and you want to edit it. For example, in here, if you would like to change it to be sales reports 2021, you can change it straight away. Okay, something like this. And also you can just like add some other components as well. For example, if you would like to have legend in this one, because I mean like this example we have just like one data set of data only. If you just like put the legend, okay, in here you can see that it shows blue color series 1. You may change it if you like, or you just like, if you don't want it, you can just like eliminate it as well, something like this. And also you can add like some other components as well. For example, if you also would like to have the data in here, you can also have it as well, to have like the exact data to be shown on the chart as well. This is what you can just customize your chart as you would like to have. Okay, this is about the chart, and this is what we learned on last class. So what are we going to study today? After we talk about the chart already, today I would like to talk about other functions that we should know. This set of, or this series of functions are the functions that we will use it. We will use them in the future, and also it will be useful, I mean, in both like studies in other subjects, for example, in the business finance subject, or in the future if you would like to calculate for this kind of thing. It would be also good for you as well. So the set of functions that I would like to talk about today is what we call the group of financial functions. Okay, just won't be long. Let me just like open up another screen of mine. Okay, so everyone please insert the new sheet นะครับ please please click on the plus sign on the right hand side of the tab and click new sheet. This sheet we'll call it as financial function. This is financial function. For the financial function here, okay, I'll just like talk about like the series of function that we have to learn. What are the functions? What are the functions that we have to study here? So I just like separate this kind of function to be in two sets of function. This one below. The first set of function, we'll talk about Pmt function, FV, N per, PV, and then rate. For anyone who are studying for the business finance subject, you are familiar with this kind of functions. But for anyone who haven't studied, soon when you have to take the business function, the business finance course, you have to just like study for these functions as well. That is set number 1. For set 2, we use the knowledge from set 1 to add more functions. That is the first one, IPMT, and the next one is PPMT. And I have an addition of a function called IRR. Okay, these are the financial functions that we have to study นะครับ Let's talk about the financial functions that we have to know in this subject นะครับ What are they นะครับ These functions are the functions that we use in order to calculate for some figure นะครับ or for some numbers. For example, if I mean most of the time นะครับ the financial functions that you should know is that okay when you borrow the money นะครับ or you do the saving. These are like two things that in these set of functions we are going to study นะครับ When you borrow the money in here นะครับ in terms of finance when you have to calculate for this kind of functions นะครับ we use another word instead of borrow because borrow might just like cause you some misleading. It might be misleading you to another thing because when you borrow something from someone, okay, you just return it นะครับ without any additional thing นะครับ without additional thing. Sorry นะครับ just won't be long. Okay, sorry. Okay, so you can see that when we talk about borrow, once you return that kind of thing, you just return it. Okay, there is no like additional things that you have to pay, except you said that you rent it out. If you just rent it out, then you have to pay the rental fee, something like that. So that's why it may cost you the misleading. So I will talk about another word instead. In this one, instead of using the word borrow, I'll use the word loan instead. Loan. The loan is that when you borrow the money, we talk about the money only. Okay, when you borrow the money, that means you borrow the money from someone or from the financial institution. Once you return it, there'll be the amount of money that you have to consider. The first part is what we call principal. Principal is the original amount of money that you ask for the loan. For example, if you just like request for the loan for 1 million baht, then for principal it's 1 million baht that you have to return. The other part that you also have to return to the owner of the money, we call it as, can somebody tell me? Apart from the principal, what do you have to return or what do you have to give to the owner of the money?
Is it interest?
Yes, that's right ครับ thank you. It's the interest. ทิตาครับ ดอกเบี้ย is in Thai language. That's correct. In English we call it as interest. Thank you. Okay, so these are two parts of money. These are two parts of money that you have to return. Okay, so when you have to calculate for the principal and the interest, okay, what do you have to know? For sure, firstly, you also the owner of the money would like to know that okay, in each period of time, how much do we have to pay? How much do we have to pay? Okay. When we talk about the amount of money that you have to pay, thank you ครับ path. Okay, the interest rate or anything related to the interest นะครับ Okay, thank you. So the first thing that you have to that you need to know, and also the owner of the money would like to know, is about like how much will you pay, so that they can just like know in advance that okay, they can plan for their money as well. So you have to know, you also would like to know that okay, if you have to pay back to the owner of the money, okay, you have to prepare the money as well. Then you have to know the amount of money. Then this one is what we call payment, called PMT. We will talk about in detail next on. After that, we would like to know that, okay, when we pay the money for a while, okay, how much do we still owe that money? Apart from that one, if you just save the money, you may want to know that at the end of the period that you plan, for example, if you would like to save the money for 5 years, okay, how much money will we have? So this one we talk about FV or future value. Apart from the word saving, okay, there is another thing that you may do. It's called as investing as well. Investing or investments. Okay, in here, saving and investment, it's the same thing. In this set of functions. After that, you may want to know that for the amount of money that you borrow, if you pay the owner back with this amount, okay, how many times you have to pay to them? For example, if you say that you owe the money for 1 million baht, and the owner of the money say that, okay, they would like to have 5% interest. You may want to know that, okay, how long, and you say that, okay, you would like to pay them back around, like, let's say 50,000 baht per month. You may want to know that how many months can you finish all the debts. Okay, so that one is what we call N per, or number of period. Okay. Next, PV, present value. We may want to know that, okay, when you borrow the money, or when you start saving the money right now, how much does that amount of money worth? We call it as PV or present value. And the last one, as your classmate said on the chat box, he said that it's interest rate. When you would like to pay the money back to the owner, or when you would like to make a decision whether you would like to borrow the money from that person or not, you want to know that, okay, how many percent will they charge you before you make a decision? For example, if you want to buy a car, okay, if you want to buy a car, you can see that in the TVs or in the advertisements. You may see that, okay, for buying a car, they may say that, okay, the interest rate is 0.9%, something like that. So you may think that, okay, is it worth enough when compared with another company, another financial company? They say that, okay, the interest rate is around like 5% per year, something like that. Compare with the first company, they say that 0.7%, but it might be per month instead, something like that. So in this one, okay, we have to know the interest rate as well before you make a decision. Or sometimes the car company may have like some campaign, and then they say that, okay, it's 0% interest rate just from today to the end of the month only. Okay, if you buy a new car, our interest rate is 0%. Okay, so but anyway, everything needs to have the what to say, rules and regulations as well. When they have to say that, okay, the rate is 0%, what does it mean? Some financial companies or some car company, they have some tricks. They say that, okay, the interest rate is 0%, but they said that, okay, for the first 3 months, and they just put for the first 3 months in a very small font size, something like that. That you think, oh, it's 0%, then you decide to buy that car. But actually, they say that they may have like in the contract that after 3 months, the interest rate will be increased to be, let's say, 0.5% per month, something like that. Okay, so this is a trick. So that's why if you would like to use the financial functions in this series, in this class, we need to know the assumption first. We need to know the assumption first. What are the assumptions for these series of functions? Okay. The first one that you need to know, that you need to set it up is that, okay, it must be constant payments. And the second one, it must be constant interest rate. So what does it mean? It means that we need to know that, okay, when you would like to use these functions, the payment that you have to pay in each period of time must be equal. For example, if you say that you would like to pay back to the debtor for 50,000 baht per month, that means for the whole contract period, let's say it's 3 years, you have to pay constantly, you have to pay equally 50,000 baht for every single month. Okay. The next one, apart from that amount of money that you have to pay constantly, the period of time that you have to pay, normally it is constant as well. For example, if you say that you want to pay monthly, that means you pay monthly, okay, for the whole contractual period. You can't say that, okay, this month I pay monthly, and then start from next month I will pay quarterly. That means every 3 months. No, that is just like very difficult to use like these basic functions to calculate. So constant payment in terms of amount of money, in terms of period of time, they have to be equal. Next, constant interest rate means that if the debtor charge you for 0.2%, it must be 0.2% for the whole contractual period. They cannot say that, okay, first 3 months, 0.2%, the next 12 months, 0.25%, and the rest of them, and the rest of the time, 0.3%. No, if you have like that kind of fluctuation of the amount of money, of the interest rate, sorry, you cannot use these functions. You have to just like break them into like small period of time and calculate them separately. Or you may have to use like other set of functions instead. Apart from that one, what do we have to know? The next thing we need to know is that, okay, from these kind of functions, we can also use like the knowledge from these 5 functions to be in the set 2, IPMT, PPMT. IPMT and PPMT, you can see that the common terms between these 2 functions are PMT. Actually, it's the same thing as this one. Okay. IPMT and PPMT are parts of PMT because IPMT is the interest payment, while PPMT is principal payment or the payment on principal. Okay, we'll talk about it next on. Okay, and IRR is another separated function. It is the internal rate of returns. It's not related to these functions directly. We will talk about it when we reach that part. Okay, so now let's talk about the first set of functions, PMT, FVN per PVN rate. What are they? For these function, actually, when you study for those functions, in detail, we will find that, okay, these functions, the arguments for these functions are part of each other. What does I mean? What does it mean? It means that in order to calculate for PMT, or the payment, you need to have FVN per PVN rate as a part of its argument. So that means in this series of function, you have like many arguments that you need to use. So let's talk about the function with the argument a bit. Actually, we learned for some other basic functions like sum, max, min, and average already. You can see that for those functions, we use we use multiple arguments inside for the functions in here as well นะครับ for the set 1 and set 2 and IRR. These kind of function need to use like series of arguments as well. So that means when you have to write or when you would like to type the function, we will start with the function name followed by list of arguments. Depends on what the function needs. Okay, these arguments you cannot shuffle the position นะครับ if they say that okay this one is argument 1, you cannot switch argument 2 to come before argument 1. This one is wrong, you can't do that นะครับ okay. So let's talk about the first function that we have to learn. The first function that we have to learn is Pmt function นะครับ is Pmt function. So for the Pmt function, okay, let's begin the Pmt function นะครับ what is it? Okay. For the Pmt function or the payment function, it's one of the financial function series นะครับ. Okay, in this one, let's see the explanation, the description of the function and the argument that this function needs to have. In order to use that function, you may type the function by yourself, or you may use fx นะครับ to insert the function here นะครับ to pop up the function windows, and then you just type the function name in, or I mean you can use the formulas and then you go to the financial function group as well in here to choose the function that we need to have. In here, let's see that function first. If we just would like to see the description, I click on fx and then I just type the function in, or I just choose the group of the function that is financial and then just scroll down to find the Pmt function. So for the Pmt function here, Pmt function will calculate payment นะครับ for a loan based on constant payments and a constant interest rate. As I told you before, the assumption to use these series of functions are first one constant payment นะครับ you pay equally every time, and the next one constant interest rate. That means every time that you pay, the interest rate must be the same, must be fixed นะครับ you can't change the interest rate. But if you say that in the reality, if they say that for the first 3 months they charge you 0.2% for the first 3 months, and if you say that another 9 months it is 0.25%, how can I calculate the Pmt? This one is not difficult. Use the number line once again. If you say that the whole contractual period is 12 months, from month 0 to month 12, then you just break this timeline to be 2 parts. The first part is 3 months, 0.2%, and the rest 9 months, 0.25%. And then you just break this calculation into 2 calculations. The first one, you calculate the Pmt for the first 3 months first, and after that you use the amount of money at the end of month 3 to start calculating another 9 months นะครับ you have the Pmt for the first part and the second part, something like that, while each part of or each slide of time นะครับ or each slot of time you pay equally, and the interest rate is the same, that is 0% in here. Then the time that you have to pay is 3 months only, and after that for another 9 months you have the constant interest rate already 0.25, that is the second part, and then you just calculate the Pmt. But in this class it is not difficult like that. we will use the limitation as I told you before. That means for the whole contractual period, it is the same. If I say that 0.2%, that is 0.2% for the whole contractual period. Okay. The next one, let's see the arguments in this function. It needs to have rate, N per, PV, FV, and type. As I told you earlier, right now, the rate, N per, PV, and FV becomes the argument of this function. So that means the function PMT need to have 5 arguments altogether. 4 of them are rate, N per, PV, FV. That I told you before that it might be like, it will be like the argument that we are quite familiar with it. I talk about it when I explained to you already. But what about the type? Type is another argument. Type is another argument that you have to know. When you have to pay the money, doesn't matter whether you return the money for a loan or you would like to save the money. Normally, you have to know when do you have to pay. So when do you have to pay? It means that doesn't matter it's weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly. Okay, so the things that are the same that you have to know is that when you pay, when. Hang on. When do you have to pay? We have 2 options, beginning or ending. Beginning, what's beginning? Beginning of the month, beginning of the week, beginning of the quarter, beginning of the year. For example, if we say that, okay, we would like to pay at the first day of the month, every month, something like that, that means you pay at the beginning of the month. But if you say that I would like to pay on the 31st of January, 28th of February, 31st of March, 30th of April, that means you pay at the end of the period. You have to specify. And also when you pay, normally the normal people, when they pay, they say that if they said they would like to pay at the end of the month, that means they want to pay at the end of the month for the whole contractual period. No one just change in between the contractual period. For example, you may say that, okay, 1 month, 1, 2, you pay at the end of the month, but month 3, month 4, you pay at the beginning of the month. No, nobody does like that. You have to specify first whether you would like to pay at the beginning or at the end. And the type, argument will be the argument to state that whether it is beginning or it is the ending of the period. Okay, so how do we gonna just like use this argument type? If it is paying at the beginning of the period, the type is 0. If you pay at the end, I'm sorry, I put the wrong one. No, not this one. If you pay at the beginning of the period, the type, you put type 1. But if you pay at the end of the period, the value for the type is 0. In this series of functions, you will see another words. Another word we call it as omits. What does it mean? For the word omits, it means that you skip that argument. You don't enter it. For example, suppose we say that, okay, this function has PMT, the function PMT, you have rate, N per, PV, FV, and type. In the function, you may put rate, N per, PV, and FV, and then you close parenthesis straight away. You don't enter the type. This one means that you omit the argument type in this function. So what will happen? If you omit, Excel will assume that you enter 0. So what does it mean? Okay, let me give you an example นะครับ Suppose you have a function PMT and you have the value like this PMT. Suppose you have A5, A6, A7, A8, A9 นะครับ where A5 means rate, A6 is N per, A7 is PV and so on นะครับ This one is equivalent to the function PMT A5, A6, A7, A8 นะครับ if you pay at the end of period they are the same นะครับ they are the same because of what if you say that you pay at the end of the period value in A9 must be 0 when you have 0 in here นะครับ it doesn't matter whether you type A9 or not นะครับ they are the calculation result will be absolutely the same นะครับ because you pay at the end of the period in here. I'll show you when we reach the example for the PMT function นะครับ okay right okay now let's see the first example นะครับ the first example for the PMT oh before we talk about that I have to talk about the arguments other arguments rated per PV and FV first okay if you click on OK buttonนะครับ for the PMT function you will see this list of arguments นะครับ see the description of each argument นะครับ the rate argument is the interest rate per period for the loan นะครับ this one you have to be careful นะครับ the rate if you say that it's 0.25% you have to know that 0.25% per what is it per month or is it per quarter or is it per year นะครับ normally in the problem นะครับ they normally give you like the percent per year นะครับ in the reality as well if you just like go to the bank นะครับ and you would like to save some money they will say that okay it's the interest rate per year นะครับ so why do we have to know interest rate per what per which period of time because when we calculate you have to make them to be on the same period of time basis that means if you would like to pay you have to just like do you have to do the calculation to be in the same unit or same period of time นะครับ that I'll talk about it next on the next one นะครับ N per is number of period นะครับ you have to know that okay for the whole contractual period how long if you say that okay it's let's say 6 years you have to know that okay if you say that period is 6 years นะครับ but you would like to pay monthly นะครับ okay let me just like type here for you first period are 6 years but you want to pay monthly นะครับ this is tricky you have to be careful you have to change period to be monthly period that means you have to multiply 6 with 12 and then you have to specify that your N per is 72 periods นะครับ don't enter 6 นะครับ because if you enter 6 that means 6 years the monthly payment it will be payment per year not per month anymore so be careful นะครับ in this one and also when you change or when you convert the period นะครับ number of period to be monthly period already the interest rate นะครับ the interest rate you have to change it to be monthly interest rate as well for example if they say that the interest rate is 0.5% 5%. 'Kay. If they say that 0.5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% 5% the interest rate is 5% per year. You have to change 5% to be monthly interest rate. How can we just like change 5% per year to be the monthly rate? You also have to divide this percentage by 12 นะครับ so that it will be monthly rate instead. Be careful, the unit of time นะครับ is important for the financial function. It's sensitive. PV is the present value. That means the total amount that a series of future payment is worth now. For example, if you borrow นะครับ or if you ask for the loan for 1 million baht, the first day นะครับ that you receive this amount of money นะครับ that is present value, it is 1 million baht นะครับ FV is future value, means that okay the balance นะครับ when you want to add turn after the last payment is made. For example, it is what we say, it is how long? Well, after you borrow the ask for the loan for 5 years, on the last year that you just like finish payment, you want to clear off the debts. That means future value is 0 นะครับ because you just like because you return all the money already. What about like the omit here? They say that okay, if you omit it, it means that the future value is 0. How do you gonna write down the function PMT in here in this example? If you say that you want to omit the future value or FV นะครับ if we say that okay, it is A5, A6, A7, A8, A9 นะครับ and you say that okay, A7 is the FV นะครับ A7 is the FV and you would like to omit A7. How do you gonna write down this function with omitting the FV? When you write it down, the omitting of the term in the middle is like thisนะครับ. You write A5, A6, comma A8. And if you say that you want to omit A9, you close the parenthesis. So this one, the meaning of this one means that you omit FV and you also omit the type. You omit the type as well. So for omitting the type, it's okay because you end at A8 and no comma anymore. But if you would like to omit the terms in between, in the middle, you just put it's like you just like remove that A7 out, but you still need to have like commas, something like this. You will see when we just like have the example. The next thing is type. As I told you earlier, if you pay at the beginning of the period, you put 1. If you pay at the end of the period, you put 0 or you omit that value. Okay, right. Okay, now I'll give you the first example. I'll show you the first example. For every function that I just like talk about in the series of financial functions, if it is the example 1, I'll do it for you. And for example 2, I'll let you do it by yourself. So now let's start with the example number 1 first. I will copy this text นะครับ this menu I'm sorry, not menu. I will copy this problem นะครับ into the chat box so that you don't need to type by yourself for this one นะครับ okay, it's in the chat box already. Okay, so in this one นะครับ you have to understand the problem first before you start having the calculation. Read the whole problem first. so that you can decide what are we going to do. In this function, I'm sorry, in this problem, you say that, okay, you are asked to find monthly payment นะครับ you are asked to find monthly payment. Just hang on. When you are asked to find monthly payment, that is the payment for sure. You are asked to find the payment. In this subject,นะครับ normally we have to use PMT. Okay. Loan, yeah, that match with what we have to use. That what we learn. A loan or investment or saving, yeah, we can use the PMT function. Yeah, you borrow นะครับ or you ask a loan for 50,000. 50,000 means what? 50,000 means amount of money that you request for a loan. That means when you ask the bank and the bank grants you this $50,000 นะครับ, the money is with you. So as I told you earlier, once you ask a loan from the bank, นะครับ, present value is 50,000 นะครับ, in here. The problem is telling you like this. It's with you. Today you have $50,000. That is to be paid off. This word is important as well. Paid off, what does it mean? It means that in the future, at the end of the contractual period, you have no more debts. That means you paid off. So in this one, it tells us that FV or future value is 0 นะครับ, because you paid off that debt in full นะครับ, paid off in full. Over 5 years. Over 5 years means that you want to pay these loans back within 5 years นะครับ so n per or number of period. In here it is 5 years. I write 5 years first, but this one is just like the scratch นะครับ I just draft it, but I have to change it for the proper n per นะครับ when we read all the text. With the interest rate of 5% per year. That means interest rate is 5% per year. Okay. But anyway, they say that payment made at the end of each month. Payment made at the end of each month. That means we want to pay monthly. We want to pay monthly นะครับ When you want to pay monthly, what does it mean? All the n per and rate, you have to change them to be monthly rate นะครับ You can't leave them as the years anymore. That means for number of period นะครับ for number of period, instead of putting 5 years, you have to multiply by 12 to get 60 months. While interest rate 5%, from 5% per year, you have to change it to be to be percentage per month. That means you have to divide 5 by 12 นะครับ, to make this rate to be the monthly rate นะครับ. We have to change to be monthly rate because you pay it monthly นะครับ in here. And payment made at the end of each month. End of each month here tell us that the type that we learned before, payment type, you pay at the end of each month. That means the type is 0 นะครับ. In all of these example, I will not omit the value นะครับ. If it is 0, I type 0. I will not just like leave. I will not skip it, because otherwise some of you, when you just like see my worksheet later, you might be confused that, okay, where's the type gone นะครับ okay. In here I'll just like prepare all these value first นะครับ. Okay, let me have a look a bit. Okay, I'll enter this kind of thing. rate นะครับ I just like lay all the arguments นะครับ according to the arguments that we have in the list of the function of each function นะครับ in here rate is 5% by 12 I just like instead of calculating outside นะครับ I just like use Excel to calculate for me inside the cell equals to 5% slash 12 นะครับ so it will become the rate in monthly rate นะครับ so when you just like change it to be like this already in this one you don't need to just change format to be the percentage นะครับ you can leave them like this n per is 5 times 12 นะครับ okay that is 60 months I put the unit as well percent per month 60 month okay yeah present value is 50,000 future value no more debt type is 0 นะครับ let me explain to you a little bit for this kind of value that we have นะครับ this one you also have to be careful keep in mind when the money is with you it is positive that means money is in your pocket for example in here present value you get the money from the bank so that's why the money is with you and it's positive 50,000 นะครับ positive 50,000 why do I have to tell you because there will be another symbol or another sign that is the negative sometimes you see the negative amount of money it means that it doesn't mean it's wrong นะครับ it's still correct if you calculate everything correctly but the meaning of negative value means that the money is out of your pocket the money is out of your pocket we'll see later and then I'll explain to you again for this symbol the positivity or negativity of the values now we talk about PMT function so I just put fx to create the PMT function in here and then I go to PMT then I just like put the values from each cell that I refer to each cell that I put them already okay so in this one let's have a look on the function building window you can see that in here นะครับ you can see that in here it has the value in here if you have a look นะครับ this one you see negative 943 something here it means this one is the intermediate value that Excel calculates for you before you really click OK and then it will transfer negative 943.56 into this cell for you นะครับ okay so in here let's see we will just like click OK and then I'll explain to you let me change this format a bit because right now it's $50,000 the PMT should be displayed as the dollar sign as well not baht okay I go to format cells and change the symbol to be dollars now let's see the explanation what does it mean I just recently told you that we talk about positivity and negativity of the values when it is positive it means that the money is in your pocket it's incoming money it's in your pocket but negative amount means that money goes out of your pocket นะครับ it is opposite way around. Let's see the explanation here. Negative 943.56 in terms of PMT. It means that you are paying $943.56 to someone. And in this problem, you ask for a loan. That means each month you have to pay back the loan for the owner of the money. Like a financial institution. You pay out $943.56. But on day one, when you receive the money, you receive $50,000 from the financial institution. So negative 943.56 is not wrong. It's correct. Okay, right. Okay, this is the PMT function that we have. Okay, now one of your classmates asked me that, okay, why his value, why his cell C9 shows 943.56, I think it should be 0.56, and he has a parenthesis. Okay, what is it? Okay, it is the formatting of the cells. Now my formats, I show the negative value with red color, just that. But you may just like choose like some other format as well. For example, in here, somebody may would like to choose, hang on, the parenthesis, may choose the parenthesis as the negative value as well. It is just like the displaying only. What for? What for? Sometimes in some country, they would like to use parenthesis to replace negative symbol, and in some usage of this value. So what does it mean? And I'm sorry, normally in which applications that they use parentheses in here? In terms of accounting, sometimes the accountant prefer to use parentheses instead of negative 943.56. So that's why they may use like parentheses instead. It's not wrong. You may change it back by just like choose the what to say, the proper format that you like in the formatting. Okay. So any other questions before I let you do it by yourself for the second example?
อาจารย์ครับ
Yes.
How can you calculate the rate again?
For the rate here, you have to know first that, okay, what is the rate that you need to have. The rate in here, it tells you 5% per year in the problem. But when you want to pay, you pay monthly, because they say that payment made at the end of each month. That means you pay every month, right? Then you have to change the rate to be rate per month. Then I just divide the rate by 12. Just that. Okay.
Okay ครับ another question. What about PMT? Like I missed it.
What about the PMT?
Yes. How can you calculate that?
You just go to function in here, and then you choose PMT. You may type PMT in here, and then you just enter all of the arguments in this list. That's that.
Yep. Thank you ครับ
Any other questions ครับ If you don't have any questions, yes.
I have one question, because when I calculated, but I didn't get the negative number, but I get the positive number instead.
You get the positive number.
And the PMT. So should I format the cell first or whatsoever?
I have to see first what's wrong with that calculation. So hang on.